Ignore the fact that it's got this stuff going on. I'll just try and turn my overlay off. There we go. Gone. Right. Now, I'd already made my BP blinking light, which is just here. Okay. Now, in order to fix it, because it ain't working, what I want to do is I want to create the loop, and at the minute things are a little bit messy. Okay, but just to explain, what this loop's doing is it is turning itself on and off, this light. It's using two timelines, so this timeline here is ramping the light up over 1.5 seconds and outputting it to the intensity of this light. When the light is complete, it'll then do this duration, which is 0.2 seconds. Then it will do this ramp lighting down, again using a timeline. The timeline feeds into the intensity again, and then it delays for 2 seconds. So this is what I want to be inside my loop. Now I'm going to take away my event begin play, and I'll get rid of my should loop run. Okay, there we are. And I want to create a very simple loop. So I'm going to just get rid of that. Right click and type the word loop. There we are. And we've got various different ones, so for each loop with break, or reverse for each loop. So for each loop, that's the array one, so this would expect an array, I don't want that. Loop, there we are. For loop. Perfect, so this for loop has a first index and a last index. So I'm going to attach this to my execute. I'm going to put my loop body over here. Okay, and now I just need to do a bit of tidying in just a minute, so I'll do that in just a second. Now the for loop is asking for a first index and a last index, okay, and the good thing about this is we can choose how many times we want it to run. Very important. So our first index is set to 0, so it starts at 0, and our last index is how many times it's going to run this procedure. So I'm going to make a variable for that. So plus variable, and I'm going to call our new variable, let me see, run sequence this many times. Okay, I'm going to make it visible, because you can call them anything, you know, so I may as well. And I'm going to turn this to being a, well, I think this is supposed to be an integer, so I'm going to change it to an integer. Okay, so now if I compile and save, you'll see that I now have run the sequence this many times, and I'm going to set it as a minimum of 10. Now, I'll drag that in, get run sequence this many times, and pop it into there. Okay, and what it'll do now is it'll run this sequence the number of times that I've just specified. Starting at 0, it'll run it, add 1 to the index, run it again, add 1 to the index, run it again. Okay, so compile, save. And now if I just come over here to where this block is and just press simulate, it gets brighter, it gets less bright. Okay, so I believe we have ran this a grand total of 0 times, and the loop has not worked the way that I wanted it to, rather aggravatingly. And it should have done. So what I need to do now is work out why my bloody loop is not working the way that I want it to. So we have an input coming into our loop. If I just double click on this, okay, so we can see on event begin play, it's going to run this 0 to whatever last index is. Run sequence this many times is set to 10. So I'm just going to disconnect this cable and just put 10 in manually. Okay. Now during the loop body, what it should do is set the lighting nice and, you know, nice and high, and then set it nice and low. Now we don't need this bit here anymore, so I'll get rid of that. And that means I can just drag this straight over here, because it's a teeny bit messy. Okay, so loop body will go into there. Compile and save. Okay, and now I'll hit play. Gets brighter. Stops being bright again. Doesn't relight itself, unfortunately, so it doesn't appear to have redone it. Unless Could be I need to link this to play from start, actually. Try that. Oh, I didn't compile. Sugar lumps. Hello, viewer. Because there's a viewer there. Don't know who it is, but I'm sure it's a nice viewer. Okay, so we can see it's doing the loop still one bloody time, but no more than that. So I'm not sure why. So what I need to do now is have a look at my loop settings. So I'm just going to delete whatever's going on here. And instead I'm going to go print string. And in my string I'm going to print whatever that is. I'm just converting it to an integer. Compile and save. Right, so now that should appear in my top left corner. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, so it did it 10 times. Okay, so it did the index 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So we know it's doing it. So why isn't it working for what I want it to do? That's a very good question. So let's get rid of the light ramp up, and I'll just change my intensity here instead to 5000 manually. Okay, that way I can just clean things up a little bit. I'll set my delay to 1. I'll get rid of that. So just get rid of all the crap that I don't need, really. There we go. Set intensity again. For my point light, just set it to 0 this time. Set my delay again to 1 second. That's 12 seconds, my dude, on 1. There we are. So now, on the loop body, it should loop that. Okay, compile, save. Play. Got bright, got not bright, stopped immediately. Oh my god, why? Okay, so the loop is, it's got to the end, it's changed its intensity to 0, it's done a delay of 1 or whatever. It should have came back and set its intensity again, and it hasn't. Why is this not working? Why is this loop not working? Let's have a look for each loop with a break. So it should do this. Not necessarily on the, what do you call it? Let's have a look. Loop. So, while. I can do a while loop. As long as this condition is true, it will keep doing it. But I tried that and it didn't work. This is a bit of a mystery, isn't it? What is happening here? So, while loop. Set the intensity of the light to a new intensity of 5000. Pause, set the intensity of a light to a new fucking name, yeah, blah 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 blah. I'm swearing a lot, sorry, I shouldn't swear. You should do this 10 times. Well, I know it's setting the light component properly, so print, I want the index, so print string okay, compile, save, play. That's so weird, it just went to 11. That is very peculiar. Okay, let's get rid of these delays. I'm wondering if the delays are causing the issue. Because they might be. Okay, so now it was perfectly fine with that. If I hit stop and hit play, although we can't see the light change because it happens so flipping fast. So maybe if I use a timeline now, let's have a look. So I don't think I've got any timelines at the minute. So it's going to run this timeline, 5 seconds, sure, why not? Float, dink, dink. Okay, I've got two values. First value is 0, 0. Second value is going to be 5 seconds with a value of 5,000. Christ almighty, who was that? Oh, I've got a new follower. Hello, Seth7, how are you? I hope you're very well. God, that dinging noise, honestly, it makes me like nearly poo. Okay, so now let's have a look and hit play. Go straight to 11 again. So it hates having anything in here, I think. Let's get a viewport. Event graph, close that down. So when it does an update, okay, it should be doing that. And then when it's finished its update, it should set the intensity down to there and print the string. Compile, save. Play. Gets bright. Turns off. Goes straight to 11. Not sure why it's gone straight to 11. Again, the loop isn't being very particularly helpful here. Jesus. Okay. Sometimes you have to delete everything and start all over again. Like so. Okay, so on begin play, I'm going to call a loop in. So loop, there we go. And it's going to be a for each loop. No, it's not going to be a for each loop. It's going to be a loop. And let me see, I want a for loop, not for each. Okay, that's great. Now, first index 0, last index, let's say 5. And I'm just going to reduce the size of this a little bit so I can see it a bit better. Okay, because I'm wanting to work on this light here. Okay, so point light. Let's see, set intensity. And I want its intensity to be set during the loop to 5,000. Okay, loop body, plop. There we go. Random float. Here we go, I'm going to get a random float here. And I'm just going to feed it in, so it should change every single damn time. So random float, and I'm going to multiply this by, no, it's going to be a number between 0 and 1. Let's see. Now if I multiply a decimal by 1,000, that's not going to work, so I'm going to add a float to it first. And then I'm going to multiply whatever that is, so multiply that by 1,000. No, multiply that by float. I'll multiply that by 1,000. Okay, and then I'm going to feed that into the new intensity. Compile and save, and that should give us 10 or 5 rather different intensities. Now I'll put a delay in after this. Okay, let's say 1 second. Compile and save. Play. Doesn't seem to be doing anything, does it? Great. Good going. Way to go. Okay, let's check the index. So, French string. And I want to put the index into there. Compile and save. Play. Seems to have worked, although the duration of 1 didn't seem to do anything. It just went straight through it. So it's ran it 5 times and didn't do anything. Stop. Play. So I'm not sure what its thinking is here. Let's try that. Yeah, I thought as much. A delay doesn't seem to work in a loop. So, let me see. Unreal Engine 4. Doesn't like delays. That'll be what it is. You can't put a delay in a loop. Task wait delay. Okay, well, let's see. Nope, task wait delay wouldn't work either. So, loop. UE4 delay. This explains a lot. This isn't what I want. The joys of teaching people, my darlings. That's what this is. So I can create a macro. Okay, let's have a look. Delay. Let's get rid of these then, because we know that the delay isn't going to work. Get rid of this set bloody thingy here, and I'll get rid of these, because I don't need them. Because I now know that I should be able to do this. So, intensity to 5000. Things I do, honestly. And then, let me see, set intensity, I'm going to duplicate this. Control C, Control V. Take that out, because you don't need to be there. Right, now macros, plus macro. Drag off pins to connect or create new nodes. Excellent. Inputs into this graph, outputs from this graph. Right, so I can add parameters if I want to, or not. Now, do I want anything to come into this? Let's see. Inputs. Let me see. Can I create a delay using this? I'll soon tell you. Right, so we're going to make a simple delay here. So I'm going to want first index and last index. Oop, press the delete button. There we are. So first index, which is going to be an integer. My last index, which is also going to be an integer. And then the third parameter I'm going to pass to it is going to be my delay. And that's going to be a float. Right, next I'm going to use an assign of my first. So let me see. This is going to be a pain in the arse, I can tell. I think I'm going to go to the toilet, then I'm going to work on this a little bit more. So